I don't want to harp on this in any kind of particular way, and I definitely didn't come with like a list to go over, but after rewatching the last few episodes, I just want to re-emphasize a point that I know that I've made at least once or twice before in these videos, which is that Dungeon Meshi has a lot of little details and care that has gone into like different kinds of character interactions and different like levels of animations and just like the attention to detail that is shown with certain things that they do. And it's really great to see. It really makes rewatching things like just really enjoyable to me. And I wouldn't get as much out of rewatching if my initial watches weren't reactions where I was trying to, be thinking of things to say and just being mindful of things that you aren't necessarily paying attention to when the camera's off. But even still, it's really nice to see that there's like so many other things that are happening that I'm maybe not entirely catching, and it's not that I am like missing things necessarily. It's just that there's so many different things going on that you can be paying more attention to like certain things over others on various times watching through. And it's really nice to see, and it speaks, in my opinion, to the overall quality of the show. So with that being said, let's get into episode 13 of said show, Dungeon Meshi, starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, Jesus, why is it so loud? Oh, I think it's because I normally changed this. Okay. Now we should be good. My ears! Oh, dear. Okay, are we good? Something about where I'm seated feels off. I don't know what it is. All right, episode 13. Oh, yeah, and Shuro is in the intro. He's actually in the intro before Namari, and we just still haven't seen him. Although then we get Kabru after both of them, even though we saw Kabru first. We're gonna see that fool at some point soon. Okay. Anyways, also as we're going through the intro, reminder: you, yes, you, like the video. If you are enjoying my watch long reactions to this show, if you're enjoying any of the videos consistently on my channel, like the videos, please. The last several videos on this channel, both Dungeon Meshi and Freerun, and the other ones that haven't really been, getting as much viewership. So for those ones, it's understandable. But I can tell from the metrics, like the not just the views, but like the watch time and stuff, that people are watching these videos. At least several people are watching these videos. But for some reason, the last few videos of both of the main series on this channel have only been getting like 1 or 2 likes in their first week. And come on, y'all, help me out. Hit the little thumbs up button. You can do it. Oh, they're so cute. That doesn't look great. Ah, hair. Wow, things are just going awful in the start of this video. um, Excuse me, what's happening here? Oh, there's the okay. That was a bit of a loaded scene to start this episode with. Gotta say. Hey, wake up. Um, Wait. I was like a third floor window, and we have established that this world has fall damage. Um, you good? I'm gonna go with no. Kensuke, what are you trying to tell us, bud? Yo, I'm gonna need you to stop being creepy for 5 seconds. Uh-oh! Oh, you do remember that, huh? Ain't no way. What? This is the Lord of the Dungeon? Oh, okay. Oh, why was there a crunch? You and me both, Chilchuck. Hey, Marcial, please tell me that you have counterspell. Oh, I'm sorry. What? She seemed very concerned. And then she froze up. Come on, get your head in the game, Marcial. This is not the time. Oh, okay. I'll overwrite the spell by whacking it. Dispel magic. Okay. Uh, she seems to be freaking out a little bit. Okay. Was that supposed to be just like a nervous laughter? I thought she was like, I thought there was some weird madness shenanigans happening or something. Oh, they did not seem receptive to your request, Marcial. What? Um, how about no? Oh, I don't like any of that. We just got her back. What? What? Why? Did they need to be positioned like that? Okay. Oh, it's one of those traps. Using what magic exactly? Hey, Louse? Ah! Mm. Surely Laos is doing something, and that's why we didn't see him on the camera, right? Oh, okay. That's helpful. Yeah, oh, is he knocked out? Oh, I guess he got hit so fucking hard that he's just like out. Okay. That makes sense. I kind of forgot about the crunch from what I presume is a couple of his ribs shattering when Fallen hit him. We're gonna need you to. This is fine. The spirits seem like they're trying to be helpful, I think. That's the read I've been getting thus far. And they're gone. See? They helped us out. Oh, hi. Wait, sneak in from? Are we in like an entirely different area? Oh, this is like a different group, I think. So I don't know if they're gonna recognize Senshi. Depths Dweller. Long legs, long ears. By the way, these names. Oh, that's lovely. Good job, Senshi. How did you not recognize him before? You smelled different, so we didn't recognize it. Do you not have eyes? The concoction? Yo, Marcel, are you good? Pork concoction. Marcial's lying there like, you better just fucking kill me. Deceased. Oh. Okay, so it is a him. Wow. Oh, so they had an inkling and just didn't say anything. Gee, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, Chilchuck is rightfully pissed off. Yeah, yeah, like what? Liar. Oh, damn, Senji's such a good guy. And like, and he's right. This isn't an instance of like, oh, Senchi's just too simple to understand the situation. Like, he's right. Chilchuck's not a bad guy. Like, him being scared here is understandable. That's so weird. Because it's not just like it's not just like, oh, because of like other fantasy media, we assume that ghosts are like hostile monsters or enemy creatures. Like, we've literally seen ghosts as enemies in this show, right? In a previous episode. I was gonna say, I think that was Senchi's doing. Interesting to get some more insight into his frustrations with the party, I think. Recklessness. Turned out, yeah, I like seeing I like seeing the specific character's perspective like this. Rude. He's being reasonable, but that line seemed to bother him more than I would have expected it to. What is happening? Rough situation. I don't know. I kind of want to hear what Senshi has to say. What? It's hard to, I don't know, from where I'm sitting, it's hard to argue completely with Chilchuck. Damn, didn't really expect Senshi to go that way. Wow. That is really big, I think, for Laos. Okay. Um Sorry I didn't talk too much, I think, in the second half of the episode. I know that I was talking a bit. I think I was probably doing fine for the first half of the episode, but I'm pretty sure that like we reached a certain point and I was just like especially once we got to the point where particularly where we got to the point where Chilchuck was kind of like, regaling us with the tales of their party making their way to rescue Fallon from his perspective. Like again, a lot of what he was saying, it makes sense, right? I think a lot of what he said was just like very reasonable, very sensible, and just like overall very pragmatic. And the the way that we got all of that is just really cool because like I've talked about it before, right? I've talked about like what are people's reasons for doing and not doing certain things, and like the characters, and in this show specifically, I've talked about this. Like why is Marcel going? Why is Laos going? Like those reasons are obvious, right? For Laos, it's his sister. For Marcel, she just like very obviously cares for her. Again, whether you want to consider it romantic or not, like there's a very obvious like strong level of care for Fallen. And then you got like, why did Namari leave? We got reasons on that. I think that we got some kind of surface level reasons and also arguably a bit more depth on that as well once we got the first episode with her. Uh, Still not really entirely sure why Shuro left. That's going to come into play later, I assume, once we finally see him whenever he shows up. But like Chilchuck has always been, or at least has to this point been a bit of a question mark, just because like while I feel like again, while I have felt like for pretty much the entire show, it was relatively obvious that he cared about the other members of this party. Outwardly, he didn't really express that. Outwardly, he either was vague or he would try to play it off as like, oh, I'm just doing my job. And I never bought that, but like the fact that he was trying to put up that appearance and it never sat right with me. Like, why is he behaving this way, right? Like if you're trying to do this because you care about your friends, not just your coworker adventure buddies, like your friends, like why be like why not be upfront about that, right? And so I'm really glad to see this episode because it shows that like and something I do want to make clear in this conversation is like I don't think that obviously because of like the way that orcs kind of the way that they value like strength and bravery and whatnot, uh the female orc leader there, I don't remember what her name was. I believe it was said once or twice, but I don't remember what it was. But the chief's sister, she obviously was very much didn't like the cowardice that Chilchuck was displaying. But I don't think that cowardice is an inherently bad trait or quality. I think that, fear is something that keeps you alive, especially when you are, like Chilchuck, not a fighter. He kind of had a bit of a badass moment, honestly, in the dragon fight where he ripped out the Senshi's mithril knife from the where they stabbed it into the dragon's foot and then threw it at its eye. Like that ended up being kind of huge, right? But and so like he's been kind of in some action, but he's not a fighter. He has admitted he's not a fighter. He's here to check for traps. That's his job. And especially when you're someone who recognizes like you are not fit for and like physically and combatively competent enough to protect yourself from the kind of dangers you might experience in some of these situations and circumstances. Like it's very I don't like again, so I don't think this kind of fear and cowardice is misplaced. It's totally reasonable, it's totally justified, but then it's like how do you deal with that? And that's where you get people like Senshi and the orc chief's sister being like, is lying to them to save yourself really okay? Is lying to them to save them really okay? Like, so there's just there's just some grappling with some like feelings and emotions this episode that I really like to see. I really like seeing. Um, and then the first half of this episode was kind of loaded too with less words, more action. And so like so that elf character who I said before I thought was going to be significant because again, we saw them in the OP or it doesn't show their face, but I'm fairly certain that you see the character in the OP. And I'm already starting to put some things together actually now that I think about it because so I don't know how long elves live in this series, but elves are typically a long-lived race, right? I'm also watching Freerin right now, and if you've watched that show, you know that Freerin has lived for a long damn time. But this character, this elf character, seems to have lived for a long time. I think from the kind of pieces that we've been given right now, it seems like these portraits were of some like ancient kingdom, right? And in the OP, we see again not like the face of this elf, but we see this elf like going along with seemingly some humans and maybe just some other peoples as well, like through a dungeon or through some kind, like, and I think we see them. If I'm not mistaken, maybe this is something else. I'll try to pay more attention maybe in the when I watch the OP for the next episode. But I think that we see them like on a boat and like on a ship at sea. And we have heard multiple times about the reference to the Lord of the Island, right? That's seemingly where this dungeon is located on an island, I think. I believe we're kind of being led to this. I believe this is kind of where we're being led to is that the dungeon is located on an island. You have this Lord of the Island who we met a few episodes back. We saw Tance interacting with him, and he was kind of left this place. And I think that there is a connection between, the Lord of this island, the dungeon in its current form, the mad magician, the lunatic magician, and this ancient kingdom. I think that these things are all connected in like a very direct way, And I think that we're going to get some I think we're probably going to get an explanation about the exact way that they are connected. I don't think next episode, but I think probably in the near future, I would imagine. I don't know. Or if I'm on the right track, because I could be way off course, right? But or if I'm on the right track, we could spend the next few episodes, maybe even several episodes, getting more occasional breadcrumbs, hints, and clues about this conclusion, so that more people are able to come to the conclusion before it's actually outright stated to the audience. Because shows every kind of media handles that differently, right? How much they want their audiences to know, and like how much how to what extent they want people to be able to piece things together and figure out a potential puzzle in the story before it's actually, again, explicitly stated. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see in the coming episodes if we get more information on that. And then I need to try to remember that the elf is a him. It's a very I maybe this is just me, but I feel like the elf, the lunatic magician, that I guess is now what we're probably going to refer to that character as. Um, I feel like it's a very androgynous character, and so when we saw them initially, and when we saw them in this episode, I was like hesitant to say him or her, and so I was safely relying on them. But I guess people are addressing the lunatic magician as a him, so him it is. uh, the fact that the magic, and again, so and then the magic that they are using, that he's using, is ancient magic, right? That Marcial recognized that, and that just kind of leads more into, again, this idea that this is an old elf who previously was part of, this group of people who came here, established this kingdom, and something happened. Maybe they just all died off naturally, but maybe something happened, and now the lunatic magician just kind of lives in a fantasy, trying to just seek after their glory days. And yeah, I mean, they, again, like, they spend time in these paintings because they long for the days of old. Those paintings are most likely, again, factual historical paintings, not just, fiction. They're likely historical records and accounts of, again, the good old days, times past. And so he is trying to hold on to those memories, for him memories, and I seemingly do something to try to go back to those days here in this dungeon, I want to learn more about what he's doing, about what he's spending his time doing, because it seems to be the case. And he said something to those ghosts, to those spirits, that like things would be back to. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something about how like things will be good, things will be back to normal, or things will be good soon again, like good again soon, or something like that. So, um, yeah, I don't know. And then like I don't even know if I want to say anything about Fallon. Her whole situation, it's hard to say exactly what's happening. um, it's hard to say exactly what's happening with her, but I will say, kind of sucks to be her right now. She got eaten by a dragon. She straight up died. She got, digested completely. She died. We saw that. She comes back. She gets to have half an episode of being happy with her brother and with Marcel and Chilchuk and Senshi. And then she gets somethinged. She gets called to by the lunatic magician. She gets, yeah, weird things happen to her, and that's gonna be a whole thing, I think, when we find out more details on what exactly was going on between her and the lunatic, between her, the dragon corpse, and the lunatic magician. That's gonna be something. Oh yeah, and then so I should have talked about this as I was as a kind of conclusion to talking about Chilchok earlier, but then but then by the end of the episode, what we see is that Chilchuk is able to get to a point where, rather than deceiving or doing something similar to that in order to try to convince the party to return to the surface, in line with what he states to be for his own safety, and what the orc chief's sister calls out as being for not just his safety but also the safety of his party, that he doesn't want to see them die. He decides to then be very direct and upfront with Laos, being like, if we try to keep pursuing this, like keep pursuing from this point, somebody's gonna die. And I don't think he said at least one person, like maybe more people, but like I don't think he necessarily conveyed that in any way. But like I think it was I think it was probably reasonably understood from that scene that like it's not just somebody's going to die, it's somebody's going to die, maybe all of us are going to die. The idea is that like, this we can't do this with our current capacity. We can't do this. And and just again, I think I tried to touch on it at least a little bit as it was happening, but like it was a very genuine expression from Chilchuk, again, who had been considering not being direct and upfront, and who we have seen kind of not be direct and upfront about his feelings. And again, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm scared of dying, oh, I'm scared of you guys dying. Like it's not that he's operating just off of emotion. Like, again, he's being reasonable, in my opinion. He's being very reasonable, and he's laying out like, here's things we can do, like here's things to try to, make our next attempt better, like here's why we should be going about it this other way practically. Here are the pragmatic reasons why we should do things this way instead of just rushing headlong into things. And what made that scene so big to me is especially after we just got like multiple minutes of Chilchuk kind of recounting how, from his perspective, and again, in my opinion, very accurately, very truthfully, has been describing some of his party's actions up to this point as clueless, as reckless, as only being justifiable in hindsight. And to be able to, express all those things, or rather, to have seen him viewing the things in that way, and then making his position known to Laos, who again is the kind of who I feel like until a few episodes has been like the de facto leader, but starting from a few episodes back and leading into now, we see him as being like, okay, he is the actual leader of this adventuring party. Like, we see that what makes this scene so big is so we get all those things from Chilchuk, and then what happens is, despite Laos's emotional ties to the situation, we see him hearing Chilchuk, not just hearing, but like actually listening, right? People talk about how like there's hearing what someone's saying, and then there's like actually listening to what they're saying. If you know, you know, I guess. I'm not gonna try to break that concept down for you here and now. um, and in this scene, Laos is actually listening to Chilchuk. And despite, again, his very obvious, directly emotional tie and immediate reaction to how to handle the situation, he hears what Chilchuk is saying, and he says, okay, you're right. We need to pause. We need to stop. We need to take a step back. We need to reassess the situation. And we need to go about things a different way. Because you're right. If we rush headlong into this, then things probably aren't going to basically saying that we might not get lucky in the same way that we've gotten lucky up to this point. And that's just like, that's very big from a leadership perspective and character perspective for Laos. But also, here's kind of what I've been trying to set up with the way that I've been framing how I'm talking about this. It's also very big from a narrative perspective, because again, we've just had Chilchuk saying, like, we've just spent several minutes with him and seeing more directly his side of the situation. And I think that if we saw that and heard what he was saying, and then we got to the next scene with Laos, and Laos was basically like, no, it'll be fine. You know, we just have to, give it our all. It would just so directly, it would kind of like, it proves what Chilchuk's saying in a way, and would not contradict, but it would kind of invalidate any reasoning Chilchuk could then give himself for why he's staying with the party, right? Because he has said that, like, if they think that if they just try hard enough, they can be successful and do whatever they want. And he clearly doesn't think that way. He's clearly trying to be more grounded as a person. And again, I think that's entirely fair. Like, he's basically he's basically like if you took an actual person and put them into a fantasy or like fictitious setting. It's like, you can't just hope and dream and friendship your way into a positive outcome. You have to be reasonable. You have to take precautions. You have to, do X, Y, and Z in order to get to that positive outcome. And so I think that if you had these revelations from where he's been at this entire time, and then you just kind of like ignored it all and just like let Laos lead the party in a direction that just kind of flew in the face of all that, it would just feel kind of, there would feel like a mismatch of beliefs among the party. It would be like, okay, like, he's proving Chilchuk right. Like, why is Chilchuk still here? Like, are we going to get Chilchuk being argumentative with Laos, like, over every decision now? Like, because he disagrees? Are we going, like, it would just, I think it would introduce a lot of ideologically, it would introduce a lot of confusion and conflict into the party. And I think the audience would be wondering, like, how do I want to say this? I think if it led to like things being super contentious, then it would just be, then the audience would be wondering, like, why are they even still together? And if it wasn't super contentious and they just kind of, and everything just kind of like simmered back and returned to normal afterwards, then audience would probably be like, why didn't anything happen, right? And you could argue that there's maybe a way to thread a needle on that and like have slightly more tension than there was before, and like, moments of it like flaring up in response to certain things happening. But I think that the the creator has chosen to direct the story from this point is just really good, and it really makes a lot of good sense, again, narratively, and also in terms of like just the characters themselves. So yeah, it really it really kind of, I think in a way it demonstrates a lot of why I've been saying that that to me this show just feels so good. Like, again, this show is, and to that point, kind of this is getting a bit off track from what I've been talking about up till now, but like I have not been, I don't think I've been particularly quiet about the fact that I think this is a very good show thus far. And I've said, over across the videos, episodes, I mentioned numerous reasons why. Yeah. And I don't know to what extent I explicitly mentioned this in the past few, again, the past few episodes, past few videos, but I know that I think in a response to somebody's comment on one of the videos, I said something to this effect, but I just want to, I guess, make a very explicit note of this specific thing here and now, that one of the things that is being shown recently in this show that makes it so good is its ability to handle having drastically different tones. Like, we went from the high-paced, action-packed dragon fight in episode 10 to back to being, super, goofy, levity stuff in wait, no, episode 11. Sorry, which episode was the first dragon episode? Episode 11, sorry. Dragon fight was in episode 11. And then in episode 12, we got, again, super goofy, levity, comedy stuff that you've been used to seeing with Fallen back in the party. And now we're getting up in here into episode 13, and things are back to, in the first half, like super, and not even like, and we're not it's not even super like action, it's like suspense, it's tension, it's like, what is going on, right? And just to be able to handle, basically, like, these are like basically like you're almost getting different genres at times with this show, like entirely different genres, and it's just so impressive. And like, and just again, I think that it's something I've been thinking about the past few episodes, but then in this episode, it kind of, it just sort of like, we doubled down on that almost, because we got, again, just like we got tension, action, and then just like a lot more serious stuff, while also still being kind of goofy at times. So yeah, just really, this show's just been really great. This show's just been really good. Also, I see now that episode 13 was titled Red Dragon 3 / Good Medicine. So I mentioned before as I was watching the past few episodes that, like, I knew that the Red Dragon wasn't going to be resolved in the first episode because of the title kind of spoiling it. And now I see that there was actually a third episode that's titled Red Dragon. So if I would have known that, I would have been really confused, I think, about what all was happening. I would have been I would have been more, I more so would have been misleading myself with assumptions about certain things. But anyways, I think that that is going to be it for this episode, this video. I don't know. There might be one or two things that I didn't get to that I had wanted to. I'm not sure. As per usual, if I rewatch the episode and I'm like, "Oh, I'm dumb. I didn't mention this thing," then I will try to remember to do so at the beginning of the next video. But yeah, and I also hope that in the thoughts in the thoughts section here post episode, I hope that there's nothing that I started addressing and then dropped. I did get a little bit jumpy, a little bit jumping around towards the during this section here. But anyways, hopefully I addressed everything that I didn't. If there's something that you feel like I started talking about and then I just kind of fell off I got off topic, started going off about something else, and I didn't necessarily finish talking about it. If I didn't complete any particular point and you were wondering where I was going with it, then I guess bring it up in the comments. Be like, hey, what did you mean about this? Because you started talking about this other thing instead, and I feel like you maybe didn't complete your prior point. Then yeah, so say something about that in the comments. But that all being said, remember to like the video, as I mentioned during the opening. Remember to comment on the video, maybe about something that I said here in the thoughts that you thought I could have been more thorough about, as I just said. Check out other videos on the channel if you are so inclined to do so. Actually, hell, I even mentioned Freerun is the other long-running series on the channel at the moment, which is something that I mentioned earlier in talking about elves as a long-lived race, as just kind of a fantasy concept. And yeah, I also posted another One Piece reaction over on my One Piece live action reaction over on my original channel, which is the first video that channel has seen in a month. So if that's something you're interested in, you could check that out as well. But that's going to be all for now. Till I see you in the next one, take care. Bye-bye.